Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor, your wise choice to improve your chess. In today's video, I am going to show you a very interesting game played in 44th Chess Olympiad round number 2, and it was played between Kirill Chukavin from Estonia and Praggnanandhaa R from India. So before we begin this video, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. So here it would be better if we look at the game from the black's perspective. So I'm simply flipping the board now. So here Kirill opens the game with 1 e4 and Prag replies with the move pawn to c5, the Sicilian defense. The game continues with knight f3 developing move, knight c6 another developing move, and we have knight pawn to d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and now knight f6. So knight c3 developing move, d6 stopping any further advance. Already the knight is covering that square, but in case, so g3 trying to fence the bishop in this long diagonal to control this center of the board. So g6 doing the same on the dot squares with the bishop g7 ideas. So knight d e2. Now what's the plan of this knight? Okay, anyway this bishop is not going to come out of this diagonal, so he wants to reroute that knight to f4 and then to d5 square. And yeah, but it takes time, but it is looks good on d5. This knight, one of this knight will be outpost, or it will be in an outpost in this position. So yeah, so bishop g7 developing move, bishop g2 another developing move, bishop d7, h3 stopping any knight remaneuver on g4. And also it creates some sort of weakness on the king side. Okay, you already trying to venture the bishop and you are getting into this type of structure, but when you push this pawn, you are actually creating more weaknesses on the same side where the king is going to reside, right? And most importantly, you have already advanced the e pawn. That means light squares are very important to defend. So here immediately Prag plays the move queen c8. It's an instructive move because it stops immediately the castling idea. So you cannot castle here because bishop takes h3 is coming and you may lose the game immediately. So that is why he plays the move knight to f4. Okay, he brings the knight into the game again, and after pawn to h5 stopping any g4 idea, white plays the move knight f d5. So finally he reached the destination here, and here in this position Prag simply took the knight after knight takes d5. Because why he has to take, it's simply because let's say any random move or any logical move here, maybe let's say rook b8. So after rook b8, maybe the white can take the knight, because after this move you are actually going to capture back with the bishop, and once you capture, the other knight is coming into the same square and hits the bishop, and you have to move the bishop again. So considering this idea, Prag immediately captures the knight himself. So knight takes d5, and after knight takes d5, anyway the knight is coming to the d5, but there is one merit for black. Now the bishop's diagonal is open and the bishop is very active. And another important thing we should consider here, this pawn. Okay, this pawn is only defended by two pieces. Sometimes later the king is getting castled and that will be defended only by the knight, and in that case the bishop can come with a tempo on this pawn. So we will see that move in a moment. So after this move he plays the move pawn to b5, stopping any c4 advances. So he goes c3, castles, and now bishop g5, and it forces the move rook e8. So natural move. You could play f6, but that will severely weaken the light squares around the king or in the center of the board. So we may not be able to kick the knight permanently with the pawn, right? So here after this move he plays the move rook e8, so king f1. So he doesn't want to castle. The same threat is still present because of this battery thing. So he goes king f1. So he is trying to get the king into safety by artificial castling. So here Prag plays the move bishop e6, trying to challenge the centralized knight. So very strong knight which sits on d5 square. So he wants to address that. So after this move he plays king g1. Kirill plays king g1. So pawn to b4, trying to engage with white's pawn. So c takes b4, and now Prag inserts the move bishop takes d5, and after bishop takes d5 we have the critical position in the game. So here we have two options to capture. Either we can capture with the queen or the pawn, but only one capture is going to keep the game in an equal position. In the game, Kirill actually captured with the queen. At first sight, it looks like it's a very good move. Why it's a very good move? Because it develops the queen, and also trying to connect the rook in couple of moves. So another thing is that the b4 pawn is hanging. Our knight is going to capture there, right? So again, your queen has to go. The problem is you will be losing some tempos with this queen takes d5. If you were to capture with the pawn, in case like this, then we can have knight takes b4, and after a3 kicking the knight, we can play even queen f5. So now we have connected the rooks, and we are threatening to capture the bishop pair, one of the bishop, right? So maybe bishop h4, then we can simply drop the knight, and the knight will come into the game eventually. So this is an equal position, there is no problem. But after this queen takes d5, now black is slightly better because of some losing tempos for white. So knight takes b4 hitting the queen goes back d2, because in the last few moves the bishop's diagonal has been open, and it eyes the b2 square, right? And if you lose this pawn, it's game over for white. So he plays the move rook b8, coming out of this any discovery idea by the g2 bishop, and not only that, he x-rays the b2 pawn. Okay, so after this move, he plays rook c1, gaining some time on the queen, but now queen develops and gains the time because a2 is hanging. So a3 pushing the knight back, knight comes back to c6, and after bishop f1, with the last move, now the bishop is leaving this important square. As I was mentioning earlier in the game, these light squares are very, very important. We should guard them, right? So here he plays the move queen to b7. So after this move, b4 is coming, knight to d4. There are two moves in the position for the knight. Okay, both are fine, but knight to d4 is better than the knight e5 idea. But because knight e5 threatens only one fork, but when we play the move, when we play the move knight to d4, it actually threatens two forks, the fork on f3 as well as on the b3 square. So that is why Pragg plays the move knight to d4, centralizing the knight and also gaining some valuable tempos. So queen to d3, and now covers the two squares, f3 as well as b3. And after this move, immediately Pragg plays the move a5. So what's the point of playing a5? But in this position, it is better to put the rook on a open file to challenge this rook's post, but he didn't play that. Rather, he played the move a5. So it simply tries to liquidate the weakness for Pragg. So here he plays the move, Kirill plays the move bishop e3, coming back with the bishop, realizing that okay, the bishop is not doing that much, so I want to reroute it. But here that allows the move knight f3 check, and after king g2, again he drops back to e5 and gains some time on the queen. So here he plays the move queen b1. That's actually a mistake. Let me show you why it's a mistake, and before that we should check what is the right move to continue. If you look at the position carefully, already white is okay here, black is also okay, there is no problem for both sides. Okay, if he wants to draw the game, he should go to the end game. That means he should exchange the queens. Okay, so for that he should have tried this move queen to d5, because now we have a couple of tension on board, queen to queen and the pawn a pawn to b pawn. So here actually Pragg has to capture the queen. That's because in case if you want to avoid the queen trade, you cannot actually avoid the queen trade. That's because your pawn will be hanging, right? So if you play moves such as queen to d7, and white is better here. With this two connected passes, it's very difficult to survive this position practically. So going back in this position, Pragg needs to capture the queen, and after this transaction, the game is equal, and both players has no problem to continue the game. So but in the game, instead of queen to d5, he played the move queen b1, trying to keep the queen on board. But the problem is we have 8 takes b4. That b4 point is attacked twice, but it is defended only once. So it's a very big mistake by white. So here he didn't even recapture with the 8 takes b4. Even if you do, still black is better here. Queen takes b4, queen takes b4, rook takes b4. And if you look at this pawn structure, it is it is a complete winning ending for black. Definitely he can easily, or he can definitely convert the win. And also you should notice that this pawn is also hanging. So going back in this position, he played the move a4. He didn't even capture that. That allows Prag to finish the game very quickly, because now the pass pawn is very strong because it's just 2 squares away from queening. So Prag plays b3, Kirill plays bishop b5, trying to, cut off this queen's defense to the pawn. But the problem is we can simply push the pawn. So we can create the counter attack. So if you take here, then we can simply promote our this thing, then we can recover the piece at the end. So it's very clean win for black in this position. So he plays the move after b2, he plays the move rook to c, rook c d1. Instead of that, if he plays the move queen takes b2, there is a tactical error so by white. So the e4 is hanging, so queen takes e4 check, and after king to f1 we can simply pick up the rook. That's completely winning again. And in case if king goes to any of these dark squares, we have this discovered check, discovered attack to the queen, and there is a check to the king, so it's a lost position again. So but in the game he plays the move rook c d1, and after this Prag plays knight c6, rook h e1, rook e c8, rook e2, knight a7. Now there is no point to there is no way to capture the b2 pawn here. So simply he shuffles the piece. So bishop takes a7, queen takes a7, rook c2, rook c5, trying to double the things on the c5, rook d d2, so doubling on the second rank for the defense purpose. But here after rook b c8, it's very clear that Prag is going to the Prag is going to the ending, right? It's very, very simple to understand. So he plays the move pawn to h4, some kind of waiting move, queen a8, so threatening e4, pawn f3 defending, queen a5 coming back into the game, rook e2. But now in this position, in case if you want to continue the game, you have to actually give up the rook and play the game. But he plays the move rook e2, that allows Prag to finish the game immediately by exchanging into a very completely winning endgame. So after rook takes c2 check, queen takes c2, and after queen e1, bishop d3, guarding that queening square one more time. But after bishop to d4, in this position, Kirill Chukavin resigns the game. He resigned because of the considering the following variations, such as say for example, white can play the move king h3, that allows queen h1 check, king h2, queen h2 forcing, queen takes f3, bishop to c2 blocking, blocking. It's not a blocking, okay, it is saving the bishop. But after queen to g4 check, it actually forcing the king to the second rank again, that allows black to check on second rank and trying to win the bishop. But now again you are forced to the corner, king h3, and now we have the move bishop f2, blockading as well as threatening the bishop. Now the bishop is forced to go to the b1 square, but now we have queen f1 check. Okay, after queen to g2 we are going to pick up the bishop, and once you take my bishop, then we can simply give the check, and once queen blacks the check, we have promotion, and that's lost. So it's a dead loss position. It's a mate in 1. So yeah, it's a really tough game for Kirill Chukavin. Because of that one error, queen b1, the game stunned. But before that, the game was equal, and he could even try to draw the game. But the problem is he played queen b1 and ended the game like this. So what do you think about this game? Let me know your ideas, thoughts, suggestions in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And thank you so much for watching this video till the end. If you are watching the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. As usual, this is Chess Visor, your wise choice to improve your chess.